Commander Yamiks!
Hello, folks. It's time for round 2.
Round 2. So we talked about small ships, but as we all know in Elite, medium ships is where it's at. Well, we don't really all know that.
It certainly is.
People, I don't know what your journey was, but for me, it was a journey where I was like, obviously, like everybody with small ships, and then eventually graduated to medium ships, and I was like, I really want this kind of big ships. They kind of look so awesome, and they look so big, and they must be great, right? And eventually I got those big ships, and at some point I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back to the mediums because I think they're actually better and more fun than the big ones. And so that was my journey.
Indeed. Long since I've talked about medium ships basically being the best ships in the whole game, to a certain level that I theorized a thesis for today. I proclaim that medium ships are OP. I don't know whether or not Mechan would agree with that, or whether or not we would come to some sort of a consensus on this, but either which way, that's my take on the whole spectrum of things we call mediums.
Yeah, well, you know, Mechan is a bit of an engineer scientist. So if you define OP, it means you need to define power, and you need to define what power entails in what context. So we quickly get into a live stream, but instead of 2 hours, it's going to take us 6. So if you want to go there, we can start. But I think in general, like, I agree with you. Like, medium ships are the best ships in the game for most activities. I think probably a couple that are sort of better swung in large ships, primarily hauling, the Panther is king. But other than that, I mean, most activities that can be done in a large can be done in a medium, nearly as well or even better. Some people would argue that the Cutter is a better miner. I would actually argue against that. Well, forget about the fact that the Type 11 now exists, but even before the Type 11 exists, I would have argued that the Corsair is a better miner than the Cutter for a number of reasons. Fight me on that, like, chat if you want, but again, we're expressing opinions here, not facts and reality, so bear with us.
Indeed. And so, funny thing, after the last time, it was interesting reading some responses there, and especially the one response indeed captivated me. The worst ship builder in the game, together with the worst theory crafter in the game, talk about ships. What an unnecessary 90 minutes. Wow, boy,
no,
oh boy.
The question I had on that one, Yamiks, was who is which? I mean, are you the worst shipbuilder or theory crafter?
Exactly. So vote now.
Vote now. It's the worst shipbuilder and the worst theory crafter. Anyway, what's the difference, by the way? What's the difference between a shipbuilder and a theory crafter? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, hey, maybe you're theorizing what the composition of a Targoid butt cheek consists of. I don't know, or something.
Anyway, cool. So, medium ships. Where do we start? Where do we start?
Well, we kind of glanced over already Type 6 from the last time, so to reiterate,
right? The famous
exactly.
Type 6 Explorer, Yamiks. But like, by the way, guys, if you missed the stream from last time, go back and watch it because there are some gems like the Combat Dolphin and the Minor Adder and the Exploration Type 6, which are totally meta builds that you absolutely need to know about. But we're going to gloss over them. You can go back to those builds. We're going to talk about some other builds here.
Indeed. All right then. So, well, since Type 6 is over already, the next ship in the price range for the mediums would be, hold on, Keelback. Oh boy, we're starting off strong already. Okay, so, yeah, Keelback, a modified Type 6, essentially, built for combat trading, or whatever the hell that means, essentially. Basically, from the last time, I proclaimed that essentially it is lacking many parts and so on and so forth, and the way I suggested improvement for it was adding a Class 4, or rather adding back Class 4 from the Type 6, because it is lacking one of the compartments inside, and maybe adding an upgraded Class 5 as a military reserve slot, so to not compete with the Type 6 overall. Increase its top speed because it is woeful for even a combat brick combat pebble that it is essentially, and increase rotational speeds because, well, hey, those flappy doodles are, well, they're funny, but, you know, they kind of look to do something, don't they? So, there you go. Yeah, that was my suggestion, essentially, to improve Keelback, to actually make it, well, I'm not even sure useful for what, but more useful at the very least.
So the Keelback holds a special place in my heart, because when the final sort of throes of the Thargoid War was going on, and Titan Kohio had essentially invaded Earth, a lot of people were sort of trying to learn and get into anti-Xeno combat, and a lot of people were held back by saying, you know, you need all these engineered ships, and you need these meta builds, and all these things, and you need like all this crazy engineering. And I was like, no, guys, you just need some general idea of like what needs to be done here. And so I held a vote on my channel, and I asked people, what do you think is the worst ship in the game? And there were two options. There was a Cobra Mark IV and a Keelback. And the Keelback won handily the worst ship in the game, sort of like survey, very formal, very structural, very scientific survey of my audience. And so I said, okay, so let's take a Keelback. Let's take an unengineered Keelback. Let's name it some silly name, and this is Bomba McBombyface. And let's make it into a Titan bomber. As in, something that's meant to do what is considered to be like the hardest activity in the name, going and bombing solo a Titan around Earth. It has an SLF, so it wasn't really solo, so I actually had someone from the audience come in and fly an AX Titan from the Keelback, which was particularly funny. But it worked. So the Keelback was able to actually go to Titan Kohio and hit the Titan thermal core after bombing the vents, generating enough bonds to get your rewards in one dive, and it worked. So as bad as this ship is, I think it's somewhat excessively crapped upon, because if you kind of like have some general idea of how to fly it, it's not as terrible as it sounds. And maybe I have rose-tinted eyes because of these fond memories, like, but
Now, the thing is, I did try my hand at Titan bombing, and it's weirdly... Oh, sure, it was using the already AX Krait, sure, the thing that I had at hand, essentially, but even then, it was far easier to do than anything else, and I realized very quickly that the Thargoids that are coming out of the Titan at the time, essentially, they really don't get attached to you, or rather, they don't really find... well, seek you out, and as long as you have, you know, somewhat enough speed, you can run away or get away, and pretty much bomb very quickly the whole thing. So I don't know, the bombing for me, at least my experience, you know, limited as it was, really entailed that, hey, you can pretty much do this with an unengineered ship and without too much of a skill either. That, or I just simply got lucky for whatever reason. I had my own streams and all that stuff, but either which case. The still suggestion is to just simply increase the speed for the ship for sure, because god damn it, speed solves quite a lot of problems oftentimes.
Oh yeah, I agree. Look, let's be honest, the ship is crap, but I'm fond of it.
Oh, yes.
It's like an ugly dog. It's my dog, so you know it's still my dog. I love it, but it's like ugly.
It's
I get it.
worse than a Type 6. It's a worse than Type 6.
It's bad.
It has the SLF disease. Once a ship has an SLF in medium ship category, it gets horrible. And we'll get to that.
The Krait is the exception to that rule, though.
Yeah, Krait is genuinely the exception to it. So, yeah.
Anyway, I agree. The ship sucks.
So,
next ship.
Yep. All right, so next we got... Oh, God, we can't get away from the Asp Scout. Thoughts?
So the Asp Scout, you know, again, people kind of meme about it, because I think the reality is most things that the Asp Scout does, there are other ships that kind of do them better. I've never really built and flown an Asp Scout, so I don't have a lot of first-hand information about it. I've flown in combat an Asp Explorer to a degree, but never much a Scout. It was always on my list because I felt, just based on how I saw it handle, it wasn't as bad, or it didn't look as bad as people kind of made it to be. It does look odd that it's a medium ship. It's one of those things that kind of in my mind should probably have been a small, but it's medium. And so, yeah, in the medium category, it's a tricky one, I agree.
Right, so generally speaking, Asp Scout. Back in the day, after reviewing all the ships, I quickly realized, well, maybe not exactly quickly, but as I reviewed ships, I soon realized just how bad, or rather which ship was the worst ship in the game, and I came to the conclusion that Asp Scout actually was the worst ship in the game, with contenders of Beluga and Keelback. But the reason why Asp Scout was the worst, and I called it dog shit, was that essentially for the price that you get it for, let's see, I think it was about 3 million or something like that. Yeah, which is a little bit more than Keelback. It essentially, though it has one unique aspect, every other aspect of it is crap. Jump range crap, top speeds basically none, meh. Internal compartments being the worst of all. And indeed, the way to solve the problem of Asp Scout was to simply add, quite literally, just a simple Class 1 optional compartment. That would immediately put the ship as a more viable multi-role ship for the price it is in, and for the things that it can do. However, at the time, I realized that also Keelback was just as bad, or well close to it. And while developers did actually address the Keelback by adding, or rather bolting in another seat for the multi-crew for Asp Scout, even though they mentioned it, needing and recognizing the need for the optional compartments, they just kind of didn't do anything about it. And quietly forgot about it. In fact, every single one of you watching right now probably have never, well, maybe not never used it, but if you have used it, then you've never even bothered keeping it. So that's the problem with Asp Scout. However, its unique aspect, where it would shine, it would be probably jump range, because, you know, hey, it's a Scout version of an Explorer version, just like with Diamondbacks. So I would say, yeah, it should technically jump further than Asp Explorer, and right now I don't remember exactly the maximum jump range, but it was slightly lower as well. But either which case, its unique aspect was the turn rate speed. Up until recently, it was the fastest turning ship in medium ship category. Yes! I need to go over again with the Mandalay, but we'll get to that. Yeah, it's been overtaken, I think. Well, either which case, it should still be the most maneuverable ship in the medium ship category, with more internal space so that it actually is more usable as a multi-role ship.
Maneuverable
For the price,
is good,
it
though.
basically sucks. Yeah. That's the problem.
I mean, I think, but there's an argument. I understand why you sort of taking the price into account. The question that's in the back of my mind is, does price still matter in this day and age of Elite? Because, you know, by the point you're basically, you know, out of your Sidewinder, you kind of scan a plant and you come home with 100 million credits, right?
Well, then at that point, you might as well have XP unlocks rather than money unlocks.
Yeah, right.
Money still has, or should have, some sort of weight because it is tied to rebuys, right? So the rebuy cost also is reflective of the price of the ship, and, you know, it's 5% of the purchase and everything on it, blah, 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 blah. So even at the end game, you know, even though, yeah, sure, we're floating, just because we're floating in credits and what else, still doesn't mean that it shouldn't have a meaning, both in the early game as well as the late game. So the price, yeah, we overlook it, or rather justify, you know, stupid decisions for ship stats because, oh, well, I can afford anything, so who cares? Still, cheaper ships should have a reason existing within the price. As they say, there's no bad products, there's just bad prices. So hence, you know, Asp Scout should be maybe as a stepping stone, perhaps. And for that reason, there's no reason to pick up Scout as a stepping stone either. So, like I said, just an extra compartment in some. That's all I'm asking.
I think we all agree. The Asp Scout needs some love.
Right.
What we got next?
Moving on. Technically, Vulture is a small ship, so we are skipping over that. And we got Asp Explorer.
Aspex. Oh. Aspex is, well... Aspex in the Antique Xeno community is an interesting creature because, well, many of us used it as a taxi ship for a long time. Its high jump range and decent internals meant that it was handy to get from point A to point B. Before the Mandalay came about, I think there were 3 options for taxi ships that were competitive, I want to say. The Asp X was probably the most popular. The Krait Phantom was another, which was larger, less maneuverable, but had better internals and could carry large hardpoint equipment around the bubble. And the Dolphin was kind of the opposite. It was kind of even more maneuverable, got around much quicker in Super Cruise, but couldn't carry very much as far as hardpoints and the like, even though its internals were pretty decent for a small ship. So those are the 3 more common, and maybe the DBX. The DBX is honestly 4th that was also used as a taxi ship around the bubble. So those were the 4. The Asp Explorer in my book was mostly a scout ship because they didn't do that much exploration, but obviously in the world of Elite, it was mostly the premier explorer, sort of a default exploring ship if you didn't sort of start going higher end with like the Phantom or the Anaconda, which were somewhat more sort of intensive builds that were also a bit less fun to fly, if you ask me, than the Asp Explorer. The Asp Explorer turned decently. It could do most anything you needed it to do for exploration. It wasn't remarkable, but it was a good enough ship. It was it was your trusty Toyota Camry, it got you from point A to point B, and it never kind of left you on the road, and you wouldn't quite be that excited to show off on a date with it, but yeah, it'll bring you to work and back on a daily basis.
Yeah, indeed. So starting from the history point of view, essentially Asp Explorer, when the game was just fresh, there were no there were no cutters, there were no corvettes, Imperials also, but whatever. Essentially, Asp Explorer held the role of a mid-game explorer ship, essentially, because of the name itself, because of the polygon shape. Essentially, it was beloved due to its low price and extremely just versatile internals, allowing for better versatility than Asp Scout or Diamondback Explorer. However, with the drawbacks of less jump range than Diamondback Explorer. So resulting in just the permanent house for deep space explorers or just simply overall explorers, and hence the saying of asps in front of things became a literal meme from olden days, less so today for reasons, but essentially, like you said, a Toyota Camry or a Toyota Corolla, it was literally just your average Joe ship that you would take around and just do everything in, and for that it was perfect. So the big question is, should we change it? How should we balance it?
I mean, now that the Mandalay has taken over as sort of a sort of explorer of choice, I think it would be nice to see the Asp in a sort of more dedicated role. Like, if you could give it something that's unique to it, like, for example, being the only ship that can mount 2 SRV bays, or being able to do like something like that could be interesting. You got to give it some kind of specialized role, because like from an explorer standpoint and from a taxi standpoint, there's really very little reason to use an Asp X now that a Mandalay exists. The Mandalay does everything the Asp does, and it does it better. So it has totally power crept the Asp X. I don't think I've taken my Asp X out of a hangar once since I've got a Mandalay.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair enough. And with my suggestions, I find Asp Explorer as the Asp Explorer, not Scout, Jesus Christ. Asp Explorer as the quintessential representation of early mid-game multi-role ship. It does everything, but it has it's not best at literally anything, with exception of cargo space for the price range, blah, 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 blah. But for that reason, it shouldn't change. It should stay as a permanent fixture, as the representation of the game. In certain areas, hell, especially back in the day, I would say that Asp Explorer became a lot more popular than Cobra 3. and it became basically the poster child of Elite's community.
Was the Cobra Free ever
Until
popular in
engineering.
Elite? I mean, I don't know that Cobra Free was ever that popular, honestly.
When even today, when
Maybe
you
the
see
first
Elite
week
Dangerous
after
being
launch. Yeah, I mean, it's iconic.
Cobra,
It's certainly iconic, but
yeah.
it's not ever popular. People didn't fly Cobra Frees, not even back in the day, at least in my experience.
Well, when you're just grinding through the stuff, obviously it's a ship that you would drop off very quickly, depending on how quickly you get more money. But yeah, absolutely. And as a stepping stone, yeah, it works. But just like Cobra 3, Asp Explorer, a stepping stone for bigger, larger things these days, especially, and a quintessential multi-role. Anyways,
All right, so
moving on. Oh boy, we got Federal Dropship. Oh
Oof.
God.
I had one.
Thoughts?
I sold it. So the Federal Dropship is a ship you fly sideways. That's essentially how you fly the dropship, because the ship yaws, but it doesn't really pitch. So it's probably the only ship in the game that you fly sideways. And I have to say, flying a ship sideways is something I had a really hard time to get used to. I don't know why. Maybe it was a skill issue on my part, but it just didn't feel very intuitive. And beyond that, again, it's a ship that doesn't have really a lot going for it. It's like stuck in between the Federal Assault Ship and the Federal Gunship. And most of the things you do in a dropship, you probably want to do in an assault or gunship instead. So, yeah, Federal Dropship is unfortunately relegated in one of the really bad ships that I didn't even bother building.
All right, then, fair enough. Right, so technically it is cheapest Federal unlock from all the unlocks possible for the Navy. The ship itself is the second unlock in the list of ships that possibly can be unlocked from the Navy ranks, essentially. First being the Courier, but in a different line. Either which case, the ship overall... yeah, like you mentioned, at the time, did boast a surprisingly high, compared to the pitch rate, yaw turn speed, making it a little bit more intuitive to fly with a yaw pitch mode for mouse rather than pitch roll. Regardless, the ship itself overall suffers from plenty of things. However, it is cheap, at least was cheap for this for its price range, and the unique aspect of the ship overall is its hull. It's extremely hard in comparison to everything around it in the price range, as well as the fact that it used to be the most hull capacity medium ship of all of them. Yes, not even any of the higher tier Python, for example, could have as much hull as a dropship. Also, dropship surprisingly had quite a bit of capacity, obviously, the internal space, making it surprisingly more usable for something like mining. But the unlock cost itself also already caused plenty of problems. Even back in the day, it suffered from basically not having game support for it. The hull tanks basically are not usable. Pure and simple. The game does not exactly want them to almost exist. So, as a true hull tank, it just had no place. Like Viper 4, just had no place. However,
we gotta train you in anti-Xeno combat, Yamiks. If you say that hull, if you say one more time that hull tanks have no place in the game, I'm dragging you to the Pleiades and dropping you into a
one correction. Then
I'm dropping you with your nice shields in a gaggle of hydras and see how well your shields do in there. Right.
For context, I have killed Basilisk, of course, only, but with a Sidewinder. Okay, I've done it several times. I genuinely enjoy that challenge. It's really the most challenging anti-Xeno I've done thus far. I still can't do Medusa. I can do Basilisk with Krait, but yeah, I like the skill for anything bigger or different. Anyways, that's my credentials. Either which case, I would say for Keelback, one correction was maybe make it compatible with anti-Xeno gameplay, because it has a fighter and there are anti-Xeno fighters. I don't know.
No,
Keelback needs help, please.
So first of all, sorry, one small correction there. Ship launch fighters are completely useless for anti-Xeno combat. They are utterly just forget about it. Like when
They
Frontier,
spawn, they die.
here's the thing. So like the idea. So here's the story, and you're gonna like this one because you like the stories, Yamiks. So the original launch of the Guardian fighters was the idea of having fighters that had comparatively strong shields, but basically no hull. Like the Guardian fighters have like 5 hit points. So that's
10,
cool.
10,
but
technically 10.
Well,
but
fine,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But you get it. So anyway, cool concept, right? Like shield tank SLFs, very nice, makes a lot of sense. However, like a little while later, not a lot of time later, Frontier said, you know what, with Fargoids, let's make them more challenging. Let's make them so that they have shield phasing damage, so that part of their damage actually pierces shields. Guess what happens with Guardian fighters?
Your shields don't go down, but guess what happens to your hull in 5 seconds?
Exactly. So your shields are fine, but you're basically the Guardian. There's actually a running joke in saying, but we don't actually believe an official narrative that the Guardians defeated the Fargoids, because with those fighters, there's no way the Guardians were defeating the Fargoids like anytime soon. So. So essentially, when they introduced phasing damage,
that problem plenty of time. Yeah.
So they introduced phasing damage, but they forgot to either make the Guardian fighters immune or buff their hull to compensate for the fact that Goids now had phasing damage. So again, one of the hangovers from a very long time ago that is still in the game.
The same thing. I literally had the same problems as I was reviewing those ships. I literally pointed this problem out back in the day, and it's just such a stupid oversight. Like, what is the point? But anyways, we'll get to ship-launch fighters.
We should do a 4th stream. We should do like small, medium, large, and then ship-on fighters, and just talk for an hour about how much they suck.
There aren't that many large ships, so we could clam it in as well. But anyways, right, continuing on then for the dropship. Generally speaking, my suggestions how to improve it and fix it is not only just changing the game structure in order to allow hull tanks to actually be viable and so on and so forth. If you don't want to do that, as a game maker, whatever, speed increase immediately, because dropship is extremely slow, like extremely slow for its size and so the shape it's in. Essentially, sure, it is extremely heavy with all the hull, but when you empty it out, it still can't move, so that's a problem. Outside of that, also, if you just want to make it a proper hull tank, just increase the hull hardness, like make it, instead of 65 that it has, 70. Not like hull hardness really matters that much, and it's a mechanic, but whatever. Something, right? If you're going for the hull niche, just go whole ham on it, I suppose. That's my idea, at least for now. Speed and more hull, I guess.
Speed and hull is a powerful combination. We'll get to the Corsair when we talk about speed and hull.
Oh god! All right. So moving on then, another horrible ship. Technically a 4th contender for the worst ship in the game. The one that I have on screen, Type 7.
Oh gosh, that one's really bad.
What do you think?
Oh, it sucks. Like it's by the way, it's not a medium, it's a large, man. We should talk about it in the largest.
Oh god,
Type 7 is a large.
Right.
We keep forgetting about
See
it,
how
but
easy it is to
it's so
forget?
bad. It's Type 7 is a large. Like I know it's like it shouldn't be. There's no logic for a Type 7 to be a large, but it is. So we should get to it when we talk about larges, especially since we don't have a lot of larges. Right.
Right then. Well then, in that case, we got Mandalay.
Yeah.
What did you think?
JD, there's a question on our stream whether corrosive negates hardness. It doesn't. Corrosive adds 25 points to your armor piercing value of your weapons, which is why it effectively makes some weapons with very low AP significantly better, also against hulls. Like, for example, Sidle Scramblers have 1 AP, but if you have stacked corrosive from a multi-cannon onto a target hull, they now have 26 AP. So they do 26 times the damage against hull than if they didn't have corrosive, in addition to a 20% flat damage buff of corrosive on top. So that's what corrosive shell does. It's a different thing. So back to our medium ships.
Mandalay. Right,
Whoa,
the ship that
now
I
we're going to good
properly
ships.
called overpowered.
Now we get
Let's
to good
see, the
ships.
third added, freshly added ship in, what was it, 5 years, I think it was. And this one truly shined, whatever, as properly what could be genuinely called overpowered, inally dangerous.
The Mandalay is
Thoughts?
great. The Mandalay is fantastic. It's a great
I hate it.
explorer. It's a fantastic taxi. It's actually a pretty viable combat ship. So if you think about sort of fighters, medium fighters in my mind, there's a bit of a continuum, right? In terms of what's, let's call it meta. From light fighter, that's very agile but doesn't hit as hard, to heavy fighter, which is not as agile but hits much harder. You go Mandalay, Chieftain, Krait, Corsair. That's a continuum today, with the Krait somewhat being obsoleted to a degree by the Corsair, but not completely. So, like, the Mandalay is at the lighter end of that scale from a combat standpoint, but
It's an entry to meta PvP. Pure and simple. It's a good entry point for meta PvP because right next to it is the old entry to PvP.
Well, I think
So-
honestly, yeah, you could. I mean, I guess you could see it that way. I think in general, what you would probably see is though that the entry to PvP remains the Fer-de-Lance and maybe the Python Mark II. But Mandalay, I think, is actually a high skill version of PvP. Like you can use to a great effect the Mandalay in PvP if you are a really skilled fighter that can make its agility work to your advantage. But you need to be really, really, really good to be able to do that. If you're not at that level, I think you're better served with a Fer-de-Lance or a Python Mark II in PvP. Noting I'm not a PvPer, so I'm talking a little bit out of my rear end.
Well, hey, I've tried it. I suck at it. So, well, all I know is mainly what people use against me and how they use it. So, at the very least, I can recognize when I'm getting properly handed my ass, rather than when somebody is pulling out a Corvette for whatever reason. and then
Corvettes
just
in PvP.
runs away. Either which case. So, what changes would you suggest to it, if any?
I don't know. I think the balancing factor of a Mandalay is its power distributor, because at only a class 5 power distributor, it's pretty weak as far as medium ships go. And that prevents it from really being able to dish the amount of damage that most other ships do. And I think it's a pretty good balancing act to this ship. I like the idea of having a medium fighter that is on the lighter end and that can be agile, even though it doesn't hit us hard. Honestly, I would keep it as it is. I think the Mandalay is in a sweet spot from a sort of balancing out perspective.
Okay, so the ship that is the furthest jumping ship in the game has the second best yaw turn rate in the game, has essentially extremely high speed on top of it. Doesn't need any balancing.
Yeah,
really.
because it doesn't sting. So, you can dance as much as you want, but, if you meet a Python Mark II, it's going to punch you in the face and you're going to get blown to dust. So it is balanced in that way, right? It has things that it is remarkable for, which are the ones you mentioned, but...
And remind me, how many times more Python Mark II is expensive than Mandalay?
Again, I don't know about the credits, but as I told you, I don't tend to think about credits much at this point in the game. Not my game.
It is part of the game,
I think the maturity of the game. I mean, if you think about it though, like think about inflation, right, and how things worked. Like the amount of credits per hour that people used to make in the game. I mean, what was it at launch? It was like 5 million per hour tops if you were really, really good. Like
Close
maybe
to
10.
that, yeah. The
10.
top end was maybe 40, yeah.
Yeah,
The top end was
40,
maybe
40 if you're
something
super
like that.
meta. So I'm writing a guide about creating netting right now, and without super optimizing, without min-maxing, today you can easily make 300 million an hour. And if you really know life it, you can get close to almost a billion.
But doable,
easily.
yes.
Yeah, easily. Like if you...
Well, you mean Arthros or not?
No, offers are gone. There's no offers in the game right now, so that's not even viable anymore. They're all gone. Like the money now, they're teasing some of the content coming down the road, but some of the best money-making activity in the game are exobiology, scanning Stratum Tectonica and First Football World. Those are 95 million a pop, man. 95 million a pop. Or stacking Massacre missions, or stacking Wing Mining missions, or doing Anti-Xeno Combat Zone, which is a bit more involved. But all the other ones are much easier. Especially like the Wing Mining missions don't even need you to mine, because the contracts are for commodities you buy on the open market. So, I mean, all of these things you can do basically on day one, and they pay up to 300 million an hour. Real, not made up number. They are really 300 million an hour. If you count the time that you need to go...
I don't want to see actual data there,
yeah,
but by all means.
We can talk about
Anyways,
the data.
Returning then back to Mandalay, right? I do take price in count, hence how I judge ships on all the stats that are available. My problems with the ship overall were plentiful, but to just highlight aspects of the ship overall. So, by lore, as the text blurb is written, essentially it's supposed to be, this hyper-focused jumping ship with some weird aerodynamic thing, though let's presume that it's meant to, supposed to be about the whole rotational speeds and actually basically being a very turn-tastic ship. Okay, cool. So turn rate and jump range. Now tell me, what the hell are you sacrificing for it? The answer is not much, if at all. That class 5 power distributor? Oh, yeah, that is definitely the biggest limiting factor, or rather maybe only limiting factor, as a matter of fact, because here's the thing, its shields are also larger than Chieftains, which is another fucking problem, but regardless, overall the maximum jump range in the game, the furthest jumping ship in the game, has to sacrifice something. Pure and simple. Looking at, for example, Anaconda, yeah, sure, it's a large ship, it costs extremely a lot, and you have to strip it down in order to get that maximum jump range. Mandalay, again, yeah, the same thing, if you strip it completely down, blah, 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 blah. But Diamondback Explorer, it sacrifices something. It has a specific drawback, meaning the internal compartments, in order to reach that top end. The same thing with something like a Holder back in the day, and Asp Explorer being, underneath the Diamondback Explorer. But regardless, point is, if you have this one super standoutish best thing in the world, right? You have to have a drawback, and that class 5 power distributor, sorry, it ain't gonna cut it. It's too good still. On top of it, the interesting aspect of Mandalay essentially is that its maneuverability, well, when it came out, it had the best yaw turn rate. That is an incredibly interesting stat. I like it, and it should stay. However, the overall maneuverability was incredibly good too. Sure, the pitch rate was noticeably lower than its peers in this sort of price range, and that's fair. However, even with that, its overall maneuverability was starting to rival, if not beating. Oh wait, no. It didn't beat Asp Scout, but it was so close you could sniff it. And this is a lot easier to ship to fly overall. So, what is the sacrifice? Speed? No, it actually is faster than Asp's Scout. Even though it is, I think it was heavier as well. Either which case, point is, the ship is lacking any kind of a proper drawback for the just genuinely amazing things that it can do. And on top of it as well, there's an interesting aspect of Mandalay that the more pips to engines, the faster it turns. While normal ships back in the day, all the ships with the exception of the new ones, well, not all of them even, Mandalay is the exception in the pip increasement in maneuverability by 50%, going from 2 pips to 4. 50% more rotational speed with just extra
You know
2
that Corsair is bugged and works backwards, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that is funny.
But yeah, in comparison, all the other ships are 15% increasement in maneuverability, while Cobra 5 being the only other exception, gaining only 30 or 33%, something
on
like
top
that.
of a very good number, though. So
yeah, it's an exceptional feature that, yes, looking at the ship overall, it should be its gimmicks: rotational speed and jump range. but not the top speed. The top speed should be dropped, and the weapons as well. If this is a explorer ship, technically, you know, this looking why the hell does it have so many weapons? It should not compete in combat. It should be perhaps maybe first dedicated explorer ship overall. No.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we're gonna strap even weapons on it, making it literally.
Well, it has no large slots, but more importantly, it doesn't have the power distributor to power even the slots that it has, so it doesn't matter that much. I think
these things
I appreciate.
called,
I appreciate
weapons.
Yeah, well, kinetic weapons, yeah, they have their own drawbacks. I mean, look, I understand your point. I think you have certainly a point here. I think you're underestimating how big of a compromise that power distributor size is in practice.
You have to work around it.
Yeah, but look, at the end of the day,
compete
I mean, I judge by what I see out there often, right? When I go to like Hadzaresses or anti-casino combat zones or CG events or whatever else, you don't see Mandalays. If the Mandalay really was that OP, you'd see Mandalays.
In a CG,
you don't see Mandalays out there.
CGs are PvE events. You're going to use for PvE event the biggest boomstick, meaning one of the large ships. If you're talking about
no, you see Corsairs.
Combat,
you see a lot of Corsairs out there. You see a lot of Corsairs.
You're going to see cargo ships, essentially. So, again, PvE events are not the only ones, and I look at the bigger picture and so on and so forth. But, yeah, my suggestions for fixing, maybe just simply actually making Mandalay more sense overall was, let's see, top speed reduction, removal of hard points, removal of optional internal space, because it is a stripped down maximum jump range. It doesn't, rather like Diamondback Explorer, it needs to have less internal space. Besides, visually speaking also, where the hell is all that weight going inside? Have you tried to measure it? Because it doesn't make sense. Compared to other, wider ships, like that pregnant belly, that's not enough space. If you're trying to make it visually representative, but either which case. After that, rotational speed adjustment, I'm not sure about that one, but there you go. That's my take on what needs changing. So heavy nerfs are required, and maybe a reduction in price as well.
Where do we go from the Corsair? Sorry, from the Mandalay. What do we got next?
Chieftain!
Ooh, the Chieftain. Iconic ship. I mean, the Chieftain has been the workhorse of the anti-casino fleet for the longest time, up until sort of really the Thargoid War, where because of its limitations in terms of hardpoint placement, it kind of like sort of started becoming less popular compared to the Krait at that point. And now ultimately the Corsair nowadays. But for years on end, if you did anti-casino combat, you had a Chieftain, and the Chieftain was the meta. In fact, the meta chief was a build that sort of celebrated build. This ship is great. It excels to date in solo combat against anti-casino forces. It's a fantastic hull tank. It's got great flexibility. It's reasonably fast. It's reasonably tanky. I mean, what's really not to like? I think it's a great all-rounder ship, which to this day holds its own. It may have been sort of overtaken for specific activities by some of the newer ships, but I mean, honestly, you could take a Chieftain out today, and you could give anybody a run for their money, I would argue.
Yep, I absolutely hate just how good the ship is. Well, back in the day when I reviewed the ship, that was my conclusion. It just does everything that it's supposed to do wonderfully. It just works. Everything is not overpowered. It's just one of those design examples of it just fits the role sort of perfectly, and there are drawbacks. You can feel them tremendously, like the top speed for PvP is... Well, it's lacking. However, it doesn't lose as much speed as the more crap you cram into it, unlike a few other ones. So it still is doable for that anti-Xeno, though for PvP, it's lagging behind something like, say, for Federal Assault Ship and Imperial Clipper. However, because it doesn't have the unlock requirement, it beat out the Federal Assault Ship and Clipper, which essentially are the same 3 ships, just with slightly different configurations in the same.
The
sort of
FAS,
price bracket.
yes. The Clipper, no. You can't tell me the Clipper isn't.
Oh,
The FAS, I agree with you. The
Clipper
no.
has problems, okay? It's a literal same ship in just a large facade.
No.
And that's where problems begin.
The Clipper hardpoints are a mess. Hey,
that's
the Clipper
thing. But
hardpoints
overall,
are just terrible.
Chieftain is that perfect entry point for PvP and general mainline combat. The fact that it is really useful for anti-Xeno is obviously also within the lore and within the gameplay as well, reflected wonderfully. And again, like I said, I just hate how good it is. Like, this is the ship that I'd like to see more of overall. It's specifically for combat, and it does what it's supposed to do. It fits the role and lore to a certain degree, and looks cool just as a bonus.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. Then moving on. If we got... yeah, all right then. Moving on then. Federal Assault Ship. Speaking of the prototype, shall we call it?
Yeah, exactly. A Federal Assault Ship is a Chieftain before the Chieftain, right? That's what the ship is. All right.
So back in the day, this ship was the meta PvP alongside, or rather competing with Fer-de-Lance. That's how good it was, and to a certain degree, I wish it still was. But because of that Navy unlock, obviously barely anyone even ever bothers getting it, or even using it afterwards, because hey, you have Chieftain, which is also better. However, the bonus for Federal Assault Ship is, yes, it's a more hull tank than Chieftain. However, it has more speed. Yes, as a matter of fact, Federal Assault Ship doesn't have the drawback that Chieftain has. Less weapons, so less variety, but basically the same damage output overall, making it, again, a competitive ship overall. So my suggestion, just like with Federal Dropship that I forgot to mention, was in the modern era, give Federal ships, or what I call them Federal piggies, the unique movement change for rotational speeds, making the pitch and yaw the same speed, allowing for that roll pitch to be replaced for yaw pitch mode, essentially, or at least allowing it, making that unique aspect for it. But overall, Federal Assault Ships drawbacks, let's see. Right, my suggestions were rotational speed change, and the game changes, because here's the thing. Like I said previously, all Federal ships and, Federal Assault Ship being slightly better Federal Dropship, doesn't have so much hull, has more shields, but still suffers from the fact that the game simply does not support hull tanks, sadly, and that's where it falls off compared to Chieftain.
All right,
not only
I'm throwing you in a ring of Hydras next time I see you, man. Down to play this. With your shields. With your shields on. We'll see. We'll see what you think of shields by the end of when you come out.
Again. Like I said, I've killed a Basilisk in a Sidewinder. Now tell me, can you actually do that with a Sidewinder having shields? No.
You can. It's not easy, but it can.
It's not
a good idea.
When it comes to Targoid combat, it's flying without shields for small ships, for me, definitely. For anti-Xeno, actually shields, surprisingly, less worth because of that seepage, but regardless. Right then, Federal Assault Ship, that's my suggestion, and moving then on. Nice. Oh gods, here we go. Speaking of derivative work, Alliance Crusader.
The Crusader.
The one with ship launched disease.
Yeah, so the Crusader, first of all, I think, is it before the Challenger? The Crusader is cheaper than the Challenger?
So, the first one was Chieftain, then Challenger, the more expensive one of the three, and then the last one was Crusader.
But the Crusader is cheaper than the Challenger?
Crusader is 6 million cheaper.
Oh, really? I wouldn't thought so. Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
it has
the
less,
Crusader...
it has less hull overall. And less crap. Basically, it's a chieftain with a ship launch fighter, thus less internal space and less hull and less
less
speed.
everything. It's like, I mean, honestly,
literally same chieftain, just less of everything.
Exactly. It's a great summary. It's a chieftain minus because you don't want an SLF bay in Antics, combat because SLFs suck.
Like, and this is where it shines.
In order to put the SLF bay, basically the ship sucks more on every dimension. So there's really no reason. It's a meme. Like, it's a complete meme. Anytime you kind of see somebody show up in a Crusader, they're kind of memeing.
Out of all ships today,
memes.
I mean,
memes only.
At least somebody is going to use Asp Scout because I've called it the worst piece of shit in the world, and community in a way has taken it on as a joke. But this thing, not even I care about it. So
actually, JD has a good suggestion here. JD has a good point, though. She mentioned that it's the smallest ship that has 4 seats that can actually fit 4 people inside.
Has it 4 seats? Hold on.
I'm surprised. I didn't know.
It does.
It's crazy, right? I didn't know. See, today we learned something. By the way, she knows you as Mira J. Anyway, Mira J just reminded us that the Crusader has 4 seats, and it's the smallest ship to have 4 seats, and it's cool to move people around in it, which makes sense.
So how do you fix it? What do you do?
You just delete it from the ship roster, and
nobody. I agree. This is one of the ships
nobody will notice. Like, oh, the Crusader is not there anymore. Oh, really? Who cares? Sorry. Let's move on. The sad reality with the Crusader especially was because it came after a Challenger, which already, and we're going to talk about it, it just had absolutely no purpose in existing in the first place. And to have even further derivative work that just was worse in every facet, like, what were developers thinking with this one? I mean, they wanted to give us anti-Xeno stuff, but when ship launch fighters sucked in the ass, and this was just worse in every facet, like, why? I mean, that's the thing.
To fix the Crusader, I agree. We need to delete it or change it.
To fix Crusaders, you gotta fix SLFs. It's as simple as that. Yeah. Like, if you make SLFs not suck, then maybe the Crusader will not suck. But otherwise, if SLFs continue to suck, the Crusader will continue to suck. It's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And it looks cool, despite the fact that it has a fucking spoiler, goddammit. Anyways, my suggestions really was, add speed or armor. I don't know. Like, what the hell do you do? So, then moving on to Alliance Challenger, the first derivative work. Essentially, they took Challenger Chieftain and crammed in more weight, basically making it more expensive version of Federal Dropship. And that's what it literally was. But it had less armor still than the Dropship. It had more speed, more weapons, and that's the big part about Challenger. It's slow, but it has more weapons for what accounts as an early mid-game ship, essentially.
I love a Charlie.
Mid-game combat. So, what do we do with this one?
I love a Charlie. A Charlie is a chunkier chieftain, essentially, but it distinguishes itself by having some things which are particular about it. It's slower, it's tankier, but its weapon setup is the thing that distinguishes the most. Like, the Challenger flies typically with 3 medium things. They can be railguns, they can be Gauss cannons, they can be whatever you want, underneath the nose. And those 3 medium slots have some of the best weapon convergence in the game, which make...
It's large, medium, small.
Yeah, but it's... I'm pretty sure there's 3 mediums on the nose, unless I'm kind of missing something.
No, it's a large. It's a large.
It's a large down on the nose? Okay. Anyway.
I think so. Oh wait, no, the large one is at the top.
Pretty sure. Yamiks. All right, let's go back.
Sorry.
So again, the Challenger, I have some time in the saddle, so I this one I know pretty well. The 3 mediums at the bottom have indeed the best weapon convergence in the game, or among the best convergence in the game, and furthermore, you can couple this ship with Gauss cannons and with Cyto scramblers in the small slots, which make for a really powerful combination with a ship that can do damage to fire great hulls and do damage to shields with Cytos. The Cyto Chally is like one of my honestly favorite builds. It's a ship that flies just so well. It requires, I think, a bit more experience to use in the Chieftain because it flies not as well, but it performs incredibly well.
It's even slower.
Yeah,
it has
slower.
the same problem as Dropship. It's just slow.
It's slow, but it handles a lot better than the Dropship, and the overall weapon setup is a lot better. So, in my book, the Chally used to be the best wing fighter before the Corsair came about, and before mod shards and crates with mod shards started showing up. When mod shards came about, when modified shard cannons came about, then this ship started falling behind because honestly, the Krait is a better mod shard platform than the Challenger. But still, it's got a place in my hangar, and I think it's gonna retain a place in my hangar.
Right. My suggestions for fixing it, generally speaking, was reduce hull hardness, essentially making the hull a bit more squishier. Let's see, reduce maximum hull HP, buffing shields. In order to actually give it some sort of a role, turn it into a more balanced build rather than a full hull tank. Because otherwise, I don't really see the point in this thing existing already. So yeah, it would be at least something interesting. Or maybe just add another utility slot was my suggestion, to again distinguish it in some kind of a way, giving it something. But even so, the speed needs. Although no, actually speed didn't. Yeah, my suggestion was not to add more speed. Although that could also be used. Cheaply, I suppose, but regardless, I really don't know what to do with these two alliance ships. Jesus Christ. Speaking of, I guess we can move on then to one of my favorite underdogs or garbage, probably 5th worst ship in the game, Federal Gunship.
Oh, the Gunship has a place. But a Gunship has a place in the universe. It's the slowest ship in the game.
Another ship with a disease from fighters. Oh boy.
Although I honestly think of all the ships that are diseased from fighters, this is one where the disease matters among the least, because the ship doesn't need a fighter and doesn't use a fighter to do what it does, which is hit like a freaking truck. I mean, it is the slowest ship in the game, which makes it really difficult to use for just about anything.
Slowest ship in the game is Type 9.
Really? Like, it's faster than
yes. Oh, yes. Type 9 is absolutely the slowest. Absolutely.
Now I'm kind of curious. But anyway, at the very least, it's the slowest medium ship in the game. And for a ship that's like meant for combat, it is an incredibly slow ship. And now I'm kind of like,
oh yeah, that's the biggest drawback of it overall. Even back before engineering was a thing, it was already struggling in PvP. Though I did see it in PvP back in those olden days. But yeah, once engineering came in, it just could not keep at all. Especially when the medium average top speed rose to about 550 or so. This thing still running around in 450, yeah, no, at most, remember, at most, it could not. Damage, sure, it is the cheapest class 7 power distributor carrying ship, so it could definitely hang around with those weapons, and there were a lot of them, especially for a medium ship. It had the most hard points, but the amount of damage was just utterly shot in the knees by the tremendously slow speed, like just tremendously, and optional internals also didn't leave much to be desired there. So yeah, I love this ship. It looks so nice. I want it to work, but even your average pleb, Johnny Bobby, can outrun it and just basically just run circles around it, and you literally have to solely rely on the reverse ski on this thing more than any ship in the game, with the goes into combat in general, right? Not counting Type 9s and whatnot else. So it just please give more speed. And I actually see somebody mentioning give it more weapons. I agree. Turn one of those weapons into a huge, please. And get rid of that ship launch fighter, or just make that ship launch fighter better. But either which case, my suggestion was more speed, extra utility, just to make it even more tankier, or two of them. Upgrade that one hard point, at least one of them, if not the highest one, to huge. And what else? Let's see. And add the federal maneuverability profile, basically changing the pitch to be the same as your turn rate, potentially by sacrificing rolling. That'd be honestly really interesting and fun. But other than that, yeah, it's another hull tank, especially a super slow one, and I'm sad that it not even once can be used in any kind of a thing. Hell, not even your average Johnny Bobby will bother because it is behind the the Navy rank.
Yeah, I mean, I've used it for two things. I've used it as a speed runner for solo GOE combat, which for a while was quote the meta speed runner among medium class ships, because it one that hit the hardest before the Corsair came about and the Python Mark II came about. And then I've used it as like a glass cannon anti-Xenon combat zones. It's probably the ship I survived the least amount of time in, because it just gets blown up so quickly based on how slow and so it is and how hard it runs with the weapons that it has. So yeah, I want to like it, but I really have a hard time imagining how to recommend it.
Yeah, that's what we have. That's what you get when you get AIDS. Ship launch fighter. So yeah, sadly, the reality is there. So moving on. Krait Phantom.
Ooh.
What?
No. Yeah, start getting into good ships again.
Yeah. So when this ship came out after Krait 2, honestly, I was worried that this would replace Asp Explorer, because it genuinely looked like a straight up upgrade path for appropriate price, further jump range. Just, similar, but, larger internal cargo space, bit better weapons, and, just straight up upgrade. For the price it is in, honestly, it should be nearly rivaling Diamondback Explorer in jump range, while still carrying, all the stuff that it does. So yeah, I still have having the power distributor at class 7, allowing for those two largest, two mediums to just be shot at constant. Frankly speaking, a bit too high, but regardless. So, what do we think? What's the problem with it? How do we increase it, decrease it, improve it, just throw it in the dump, or, I don't know, put it in a corner and maybe love it or something?
I mean, again, it depends on what the purpose is. If the purpose is like an explorer or taxi ship, I think it's in a pretty decent spot. Again, it's been surclassed by the Mandalay, but this used to be my main taxi ship. I used to get around the galaxy in a Phantom. That was how I got around.
That's quite an expensive one, though, but okay.
Well, it's not like you lose your taxi often. I mean, so like, it's usually some major skill issue if your taxi gets blown up. So it's not that expensive once you have it. Also, again, as I mentioned, I don't think credits matter that much at this point in the maturity of the game, but the ship itself is better than the Krait Mark II in a number of dimensions, but the crippling factor of a Phantom is that it only has 4 hard points. That is what.
Yeah, and those are not particularly large ones either.
No, they are. I mean, there's two. I mean, it's too large and too small.
It has the same hard points as a Federal assault ship. Just to put it in perspective, a ship that is twice as cheap.
Yeah.
So
yeah, with just 4 hard points, just 4 hard points is such a limiting factor in anything that's combat related that basically effectively rules this ship out for most mainstream combat users. There have been a number of people who have flown this in combat, and to a degree reasonably successfully, because it flies better than the Krait.
That power distributor allows for quite a bit of burning. So.
It does. And so I mean, it was a higher finesse version of a Krait Mark II for more experienced pilots that choose to fly this one because they prefer a more agile version of a Krait. But in this sort of modern age, I don't know anybody who mains the Phantom anymore, and yeah, it's hard to recommend. Even as a taxi, it's being surclassed by the Mandy, and as a combat ship, they're just better options. It's a good glory day ships of old, but one that doesn't really have a place in the meta anymore.
Not even old. It honestly, people keep forgetting this, but it is one of the youngest ships. I've actually come to think of it. I think this was the last ship before before Mamba was released.
I was gonna say this was before Mamba.
So it is one of the freshest ships, in fact, after the 5-year gap or something like that. So yeah, what olden days are we? I mean, fair enough. But yeah, my suggestion overall was increase the rotational speeds for the ship because hey, it is a cheaper. Essentially, it has the same rotational pattern, slightly better, but about the same as Krait 2. And honestly, for something that is lighter, it should turn faster, slightly even. So that was my reasoning behind it. Then the power distributor really could easily be downgraded. The power distributor also could be, or power plant and power distributor could be downgraded, and then increase its jump range even more a little bit, and decrease maybe the price. And lo and behold, you have a pretty decent exploration ship that could actually compete with Diamondback Explorer, perhaps, or Mandalay, if Mandalay actually gets the suggested changes.
I would give it 2 small hard points, and then I think it would make for a somewhat decent combat ship.
Maybe exchange the 1 medium to 2 smalls. Still deals a little bit more damage and gives more versatility.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
that's not a bad idea.
But then you'd only have 2 sort of slots for medium plus weapons. That'd be a big compromise.
Well, it's a sacrifice for a cheaper version of Krait.
I would trade you a medium for 3 smalls on a ship that needs 1 more hardpoint anyway. Otherwise,
those that are wondering, the 1 medium or 1 higher class hardpoint deals less damage than 1 class smaller hardpoints. It's a funny little thing. So
unless it's Hydro Sclambrers on shields, then those do the damage of a large.
But yeah, generally speaking, right? Right. Oh god. Then we have the second added ship in the recent times, Type 8.
Ooh.
So, any ideas?
I think the Type 8 and the Type 11 compete for being the worst ships that have been released for ARCs in my book.
And yet they are still incredibly good.
Yeah, I mean, they have some kind of role. I mean, what is the role of the Type 8? The role of the Type 8 is that it's the best medium hauler. That's it, right? That's the role of the Type 8. But let's be honest, who gives a damn about the best medium hauler? Like, hauling is mostly done in large ships, and if you ever need a medium hauler, you can totally get away with a Python or Krait, and it's fine. Like, the fact that the Type 8 hauls a bit more, again, honestly, if I wasn't doing this for fun, I would never. I mean, I killed a Hydra in this thing, and then I think I took the ship out maybe once since it released. So I've literally never used it. So I don't know. Like, yeah, some people are saying like Lurient is here, and he's basically reminding us that it can be used for a booze cruise and other situations where you can only use medium ships. And that's true, but even for a booze cruise, what's the difference between unloading in a Type 8 versus unloading in a Python? I mean, it's
about 100 tons or 33% of Python's carry capacity. 33%, son. I think that's a big difference. That is a tremendous difference when you actually start to calculate how much more time it actually saves.
And there's SEO stabilization, again, people are reminding. So, again, Jesus Christ. Guys, you're right. I mean, the Type 8 is a better medium hauler than anything else. I'm just saying the number of situations where you actually are going to be using a medium hauler are kind of limited in the game. Unless you're some dedicated boost cruiser and you spend all your day kind of hauling wine to and from Rackham's Peak. But the reality is, even Rackham's Peak public holiday happens, what, once a month or something like that? So, I mean, even if you were a dedicated wine hauler to Rackham's Peak, you'd be taking this ship out for a spin once a month. So, I don't know. Like, yes, it's a great medium hauler, but it's only a great medium hauler. The hardpoints suck. This thing made me sweat killing a Hydra the most of all the new ships that I've fought with, even more than the Panther, to give you an idea. Like, it's very, very difficult to fight in. I mean, again, as you can tell, I'm not in love.
I see. Interesting perspectives overall. You're taking it only on anti-Xeno. Because here's the thing, right? It's very clear where your biases are.
Yeah, my bias is definitely anti-Xeno, obviously. Like, you smell right.
But, right. So, generally speaking, so Type 8, essentially, it literally is made to dominate the medium ship category for hauling. Overall, just dominating any kind of a small outpost where only medium and small ships can land. And that is something that you should not overestimate or underestimate rather, because here's the thing, right? Robigo is a passenger mission hub, right? And used to be that the best ship for that sort of a thing would be obviously the Python, which is the biggest cargo capacity ship for mediums, or at least used to, until just recently. And sure, Python should have never been the highest cargo capacity ship. Type 7 should have been. But that's a different story. When it comes to Type 8, yeah, when Type 8 was released,
Type 7 can't do Robigo.
Yeah. True. But yeah, here's the thing. When developers released Type 8, they didn't just simply beat Python in the cargo capacity. They just overshot the moon so hard that I honestly struggle to believe that this is a medium ship overall. Because here's the thing, right? It has more cargo space than quite a few large ships. In fact, it has more cargo space than Type 7. And yet, for some weird reason, it is a medium. So where the hell is all that cargo going? This is the most blatant case of developers, in my opinion, literally not caring. Since I'm streaming with Mechan, I try not to swear. You know what I was about to say. So they genuinely overshot so hard. It's like it's like a kid made it, like a parody. Essentially, I like trading ships. This trading ship will have the best cargo space, and then it has the best speed, and then it also turns really quickly. You know, that sort of attitude. Like, come on, man. Seriously, you can both make a really good ship or for the role specific ship that actually beats everything before and yet still have drawbacks. And in fact, I'm not seeing particularly any big ones for Type 7. Sure, the hard points and what else for combat and so on, so forth, but it's a trading ship, right? Fundamentally, it size-wise doesn't make sense compared to Type 7. Overall, it has a medium hard point, which sure, it's a Type 7, right? Next version of a Type 7, whatnot else. So yeah, but the fact of the matter is that medium hardpoint unlocks all the mining styles immediately. That's a big boon, and that should not be underestimated at all. Next thing is the top speed, the rotational speed, the jump range. Most of all, it doesn't make sense in overall, right? So for the tonnage that this thing can haul and the weight of the ship itself, unlike Type 7, Type 9, and then Type 7, Type 9, and Type 6, right? All of them sort of go in a line. And then when it comes time for Type 8 to arrive, suddenly the speed goes down as the size of the ship increases. For Type 8, it just suddenly drops, or rather beats the Type 7, which just, again, it does not make sense in that sort of sense. And I've repeated this time and time again about the ship. It frustrates the hell out of me because it's so blatantly made OP without anyone caring about the game's balance or the roles of the ships themselves. It really disgusts me just how brazenly it was just farted out. It's just sad. So, my suggestions overall was reduce the top speed, reduce the rotational speed. Potentially, yeah, you can easily drop a couple of internal cargo space units and still beat Python and still be better than it, and it would make sense. Tonnage-wise and then overall the size-wise as well. So, for example, max it out at 330 units of cargo, and it still is better than Python, and you don't need to go overboard. But because, hey, money, we need to make it even more OP and blatantly so. Like, it's pathetic. If more than any other ship, this one just made me really say it's just pathetic. So
I don't care
also
much
reduction
for
in
the
shield HP. But yeah.
I don't care much about the Type 8. Like, I think some ships,
I can tell.
like, some ships have a soul to
Fair
me,
enough.
and
Fair enough.
like I have a history, but I've killed a Hydra in pretty much all of them. But you can't kill a Hydra in, and this one I just really fell in love with. I know I'm biased towards AX,
Maybe
but
we
also
should
for
force
beating
Mechan to do nothing but trading, you know, A to B trading or passenger missions to get a little bit acquainted
And
with the
here
game
is
more.
how another streamer quit Elite Dangerous.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on then. Krait Mark II.
Oh, yeah. Glory ship. Krait Mark II is probably one of the ships I have the most time in the game, together with Chieftain. And more recently the Corsair, but for the longest time, the Krait is so flexible and it's so good at so many things. We actually created this common core.
I mean, it better be.
reference
It's a
build.
copy-paste of Python.
Well, it's a copy-paste of Python with some upgrades to how it handles, with the ability of ship launch fighter, which it doesn't
some
need.
downgrades.
I don't know, like, it has what? It has a slightly smaller internal,
Less
I think.
hull, shields.
Well, Holly has more than enough hull for just about anything. Shields, it doesn't use shields for what most of the things it does. So, again, I guess if you're doing some PvE with shields, it might matter. But handling, it handles better. The weapon convergence is great. Not fantastic, but great. And, I mean, it's a freaking tank. I mean, it flies around, and it's fast for its tankiness. I mean, the only thing about the ship that's like its downside, if you want, is that it doesn't yaw. This is a ship you have to fly, roll, and pitch because the yaw is basically non-existent. But if you take, you don't take that away. You just take it for what it is. Like, with that downside in mind, it used to be the meta ship for a Titan War, for the Firewood War. It could swing AXCCs. It's probably, behind the Corsair, the best platform for modified shard cannons, which in turn are the best anti-Xeno weapons in the game. But it's a great platform for many weapons in general. It's such a fantastic combat ship and multi-role ship. It can also do trading if you wanted to. It's got decent jump range. It's got good internals. It's got speed. It's got tankiness. It's got okay handling. It's a heavy fighter. It's probably the first marquee heavy fighter, which means with its class 7 power distributor, it hits like a frigging truck. And with Sarge hardpoints, it hits like a frigging truck. But it doesn't quite turn that well. And in like a sort of turning match, you're going to lose to most of the smaller ships. So that's one of the reasons it hasn't found all that much use in PvP, in addition to its shields, to your point, being subpar. So, all in all, again, a ship that I have flown for so long that I have a lot of memories in. As opposed to the Type 8.
But would you change anything about it?
I mean, again, the thing is, now that the Corsair is out, the Corsair has power crept the Krait to almost like every degree. Like, there's very few things the Krait does. It turns a little bit better, but its lateral thrusters are a lot weaker than a Corsair. It has a longer straight boost acceleration cycle, but that's not necessarily always a good thing. So, I mean, I think we need to find a different niche for this ship if we're going to play how would we, rebalance things. We need to find what kind of niche would we find it? I mean, here's what I probably would do. Actually, I know what I would do. I would give it 5 large hardpoints, and I wouldn't change another thing. I would just leave it at that.
5?
I would leave it at that, yeah, because again, 5 large hardpoints, but no other changes. would make for an interesting balancing factor, because then essentially you have the
For
Corsair,
comparison, that's basically like adding 2 more mediums in power-wise. Oh, that's the
Yeah, but-
levels of
yeah,
Federal Gunship addition of weapons. But okay,
Well,
interesting
so-
idea. Interesting idea.
Yeah, so here's the dynamics though. Like, you're kind of thinking that adding more guns means adding more DPS. Reality is
Which
almost,
it is, burst damage-wise at least.
Well, only alpha, not burst. Like, if you're saying alpha burst, maybe. But keep in mind, almost every serious build is limited by distributor energy. It is not limited by hardpoints. That's almost universally true for all but some of the most specialized builds. So I mean, you know,
You're speaking about the AX, not PvP.
I mean, in PvP, like, if you think about it, most people, what kind of engineering do people put on their plasma accelerators for PvP?
Efficient most of the time, with the
Why?
exception of
Why?
long range.
Why?
Efficient because of the power distributor cost.
Hence,
Yeah, there you go.
exactly. So,
But that's
you know,
again,
so
you're
if
going to
you
be
had-
putting efficient on the
so-
ships that are lacking on. However,
but what
long
happened-
range
so let me
builds
tell
have
you
been
this.
used as well.
if you added 2 more huge hardpoints, let's make this argument, to a Fer-de-Lance, 2 more huge hardpoints, how much more sustained DPS do you get on the Fer-de-Lance?
Oh God, sustained. I don't know numbers. Shit.
Do you know the number that's all round? Like,
Yeah,
because that's the answer.
But yeah, no, the point
Right.
is absolutely there. Absolutely, yeah.
In fact, smaller weapons are more distro damage efficient than larger weapons. Small Gauss is more distro to damage efficient than medium Gauss, which is on very crippled distributor ships like the Adder, like the Type 8 even. Using smaller weapons results in higher sustained damage than using medium weapons, because those ships are distro constrained, and using smaller weapons convert more distro energy to damage, and as a result results in higher sustained DPS for those ships. True your point, yes, you can get more alpha damage with bigger guns, but you get it for a grand total of a second and a half before your distro is empty, and then you're limping at 300% heat trying to figure out what to do next, and the answer is not much. So, again, the power distributor is really a main design factor for how to gun ships, if you want, within the constraints of hardpoints. Hardpoints are almost a secondary consideration once they kind of have enough of them to do whatever the ship is designed to do.
All right. No, actually, pretty interesting idea. Again, yeah, I've tried applying knowledge on many aspects, but when it comes to that sort of depth, yeah, you got me on that one, absolutely. Though PvP wise, I would say still more guns allow for more flexibility overall, rather than just yeah, sure, straight damage and so. Okay, anyways,
yes.
overall, right. Just to move us along a little bit, my suggestion really for Krait 2, right, yeah, my suggestion was really to in a minor way, like sub 5 light year reduction in jump range. And that's the only change I would make for Krait 2, because, well, it's pretty much perfect as it is. I mean, being a copy-paste of a Python already does that. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll talk about both of them when we come to the Python. So I suppose we might as well move on, and we move on to the Fer-de-Lance. So the meta PvP ship, the meta combat ship throughout the ages up until recently. Take a shot. Anyway,
Well, it's
carry
still
on.
it's still sort of like.
Oh yeah, it absolutely still is. Absolutely still is.
Yeah.
Apparently, in organized PvP, like fair PvP group wise, it is still better than Python 2. But we'll get to Python 2. So then, for the longest time, this, well, it's hard to deny to be the best combat ship overall, and to a certain degree, I honestly still would call it OP for combat. It just does everything. Yeah, it does make sacrifices in jump range, internal space, hell, but what it manages to output, the ease of use of the ship itself, its flight pattern, thrusts, blah, 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 mostly maneuverability is just so good that, yeah, this is kind of, or at least it used to be, the pinnacle of what a combat ship, both for PvP and PvE, would be, without sacrificing basically nothing of value for that type of a gameplay. So, what do you think?
It's a great ship. It's to your point. It was designed as like a combat ship, like the Mamba. It's designed as a shield tank. It's like a medium tank.
Yeah, it is the first shield tank since Courier.
Yeah, which means that it has more utilities than normal to allow for more shield boosters. It has 6 utilities.
Yeah, 6 of them.
Together with the Mamba, I think it's the only medium ship that has 6 utilities, in fact. Both shield tanks. But it pays for that in terms of having really cramped internals. So you don't really have a lot of internal space in the ship. And as a result, you're forced to make some pretty important compromises with regards to how to fit the ship from an interior standpoint. What can I say? I mean, to this day, it's the best PvP ship overall, I want to say. Like, sure, the Krait Mark II in certain contexts can be competitive. The Corsair, maybe in a group setting, maybe, but in one-on-one, this thing is going to dance around the Corsair, and I know because I've had these things dance around me in a Corsair. Again, in some type of arrangements, you can see Mandalays, but yeah, I mean, the
Mandalay beats this.
Yeah,
but
in terms of handling, yes. But
in speed and the maneuverability, but the loss is in the damage and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, to this point, this is the reference ship for player versus player combat. It's a fantastic ship. It's a fantastic ship also for normal, but it's not used that much for normal combat because honestly, the Krait exists and other ships that can mount easier to use
for a normal
exists.
PvE combat, generally speaking, you don't need more than just shields and lots of weapons and power distributor that doesn't conk out type 10.
Right.
But yeah, basically one of the large 3. So yeah, this relegated mostly for PvP because of that.
But yeah, for PvP it remains probably the best, I will say.
All right, do we change it? Or do we suggest changes?
It's such an iconic ship in the history of Elite. I mean, there are some ships that have played such a big role in the history of a game that, honestly, I would almost keep them as it is because they're kind of a reference standard for something. You change things around them, but I wouldn't suggest you change them. The Chieftain is that
game
for AX.
Changes. I agree.
I would change. I mean, the AX for AX, the Chieftain is that, and for PvP, the Fer-de-Lance is that.
Yeah. My suggestions, let's see. My suggestions were, generally speaking, as I said, with hull tanks requiring some buffs, properly just game support. And the same thing goes with shields. Shields should not be multiplicative, especially engineering. Or at least engineering, because
I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful about the stacking math.
The amount of shields you can cram into this one are bullshit. There's just no 2 ways to describe it, really. So yeah, there's a big problem with engineering overall. But yeah, so yeah, overall I'd say just maybe a small shield decreasement, but that's again taking from the context of existing engineering. If you don't want to change the game, right? In that sort of a bigger sense. So, but yeah, even as is, it doesn't need that much changing or at all. So moving on.
Yeah.
Then to the derivative work of Mamba.
Oh, the Mamba.
Back when it released, it was the hottest ship in the game. You could be
it overheated
so
just by
thousands.
boosting, right?
Yep.
It was so funny.
It was just so hot. Ship that is made apparently for, or at least from an unreleased racing prototype, which essentially was just a fancy dressing up, lip service, whatever, when it really was just a Fer-de-Lance with a couple of stats changed. Still, those stats were actually surprisingly impactful, leading to Mamba becoming one of the faster medium, in fact, the fastest until recently. Well, no, actually, still, the fastest medium ship overall, reaching the 600 meter a second boost speed maximum. So overall, it turned quite a lot slower, but had basically the same internals, same shields, just more hull, less maneuverability, and just more straight line speed. That was the gimmick of this ship. Take the Fer-de-Lance, add it more speed, hull, and less turning rate. Done.
Yeah,
and
Mamba.
It ended up being an interesting build. It's a weird ship.
It's a very weird ship.
So these days, people tend to use it overall for just strapping frag cannons and just zooming. The ship overall relies quite a lot on jousting tactics because of the speed. Obviously, that's the only thing that it has going for it. So when it comes to it, yeah, it's made for really boring PvP. Because again, jousting and so on, so we'll return to that topic as well. But as is the ship, yeah, unlike all the other medium ships, with that little change in speed, well, it's not a little change, because Mamba actually goes nearly 100 meters a second faster than Fer-de-Lance, and that is changing quite a bit, but also it turns quite a bit slower. So result, like I said, yeah, it goes fast, but it doesn't turn, and it makes for a really weird experience. That little difference to one of the better ships in the game is interesting, to say the least. And to a certain degree, you could say that it has a place in the game, but like basically, like Fer-de-Lance, I suggest just simply changing the game with hull tanks and shields and racing minigame, please.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it had a place in the game as the famous Frag Mamba, as an alternate version of the sort of PvP, mostly for ganking players. But with the advent of the Python Mark II, that role has moved to a Python Mark II for all intents and purposes. That does that a lot better. So today, the Mamba is a bit orphaned as far as a role in the game. Like I had tried to make a Titan bomber build for this ship before even Titans were released, which was, I think, interesting. But I mean, it's probably one of my most maligned builds I ever made. Maybe that's the comment where the worst theory crafter and ship builder comes from the other time, because arguably the Mamba build I had made as a Titan bomber worked, but it really wasn't the best build that one could make. And in fact, the Krait Mark II eventually overtook the Mamba as the sort of default Titan bomber. And eventually, when the Python Mark II came about, the Python Mark II took on that role as well. With that role sort of out of the equation, and with the Frag Mamba role out of the equation, the Mamba really doesn't have much of a role, which in my mind is disappointing, because I really love the design of the ship. It might be the one that, from an aesthetic standpoint, I like the best. It's just so sleek, and it just looks great in my book. I'd love to find ways to fly it. I have found some ways to fly it, mostly as a wing fighter, because it has those two small hard points that can be used for turrets. But it's such a niche use that, today the Mamba is going to be collecting dust in the hangars of most people. Reality is.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. For PvP, it's still kind of useful, but even so, it's relegated to one tactic, and that's shoot and scoot, if you will. And there you go. Right then. There's one change from Fer-de-Lance that it actually did improve, and that is the seat in the middle that so many people keep complaining about for Fer-de-Lance. Like, oh, it's the offset seat. Like, you already got the best ship in the game, basically, for combat. What the hell do you want more? Not to have at least one annoyance to it? Come on. Well, yeah. I get it. So, moving then on to what I used to call the godlike ship, and still do, and that is Python. Well, fucking hate that you have to use the word Python 1. So the ship that I deemed the best ship in the game to a level that is straight OP. Nothing about this ship called to me as overpowering, yet everything about it was either okay or better. So it was good or okay in many areas. Whatever you could throw at it, it would take it and it would do. It wasn't the best at anything, but it was at the very least good and nothing less.
Oh no, it was the best as a passenger ship. The reality is this was the best passenger ship.
No longer because of Type 8.
Yeah, I know, but it was the. I mean, this as you can tell by the fact that my Python is called Robigo Runner. This was my passenger mission ship for the longest time. And that's it. It's the only thing I used it. Actually, this is interesting because like when I originally started the game, I remember eventually grinding my way to buying a Python, and I felt so accomplished. I felt like that I had this. Sure? Yeah, it
is an accomplishment. Indeed.
At the very beginning of the game, when I finally, I traded in silly Type 6 and silly Type 7, and eventually I got the credits to buy a Python, and I felt like so cool, man. Like
it's an endgame ship.
Yeah,
very simple.
Back in the day, it was. The Conda was this unattainable dream, and the Python was this pretty amazing multi-role ship that did really well in combat, and I've used it as a PvE combat ship back in the day. I'm talking almost 10 years ago, for a while. But
I'm feeling old.
Yeah, exactly. But since the more modern days, this has been configured as my passenger transport ship. As you can see, like it's all passenger cabins, and that's about it. I have it here in case passenger missions ever become a thing again. I should build a beluga or some other thing.
God.
But until I decide I choose to do that, I'm gonna use my Python as a passenger ship.
Yeah, Python. The video that I recently did was the versus the Python versus what was it, the Corsair and Krait 2, right? As I was listing the stats about each ship, marking off the three ships, which was the best stat between the three, which was the worst one, and for Python, it ended up being just everything in the middle, so far that nothing about it was in the green, as in none of its stats no longer shined, and it's kind of these days, because of the Corsair, essentially the Python 2 is left in such a rot that it's not bad. It's still not bad. It's a good ship, or rather decent ship. And that's the problem. It has become basically the level of forgotten, like, let's say, Challenger. Yeah, there's some interesting things maybe about it, but because of the ships below and above it, you don't really even look at it anymore. And that's such a shame from a ship that used to be literally the best. I would call it godlike, right? OP to a certain degree because of just what amount of stuff you could do with it. And it saddens me to see the lack of care being given to the game balance when it comes to ships and their roles and what is being released and so on and so forth. So yeah, sure, Python should have never been the cargo king. I agree. Again, Type 7 should have for mediums. But outside of that, for combat, it's wonderful. I still try to this day make it work, or at least used to, because I don't know, after Corsair I just kind of feel like I want to give up almost. So yeah, with Python I tried making it compete with Fer-de-Lance. Yes, it was slow, it would never outturn it, but it had more damage, and that's what I relied on. More hull as well, and if only I got a little bit better, maybe I could beat, say, Fer-de-Lance. These days, why bother?
Yeah.
Like,
anyway, we found the ship. We found the ship that Yamiks has feelings for.
That's awesome. I just
come on, give us a heart. Give us a heart symbol or something, like for the Python Mark I. Come on, man. We can tell you from feelings a little.
Snook.
A little
Snook,
snook.
snook. Yeah, so that's all I really can say. It should be the quintessential multi-role ship for the high end of medium ships, but it no longer is.
All right, so now we go to the new ships, right? I think.
We go to misappropriately named nonsense that basically wears Python's clothes at most, and that's basically copy-paste the Fer-de-Lance, the Python Mark II. It's funny. It genuinely is funny that there are still some space dads out there that, and even fucking ChatGPT literally mentions that, oh, it's just a better Python. Huh?
No, it's
Excuse
not a Python.
me.
It's a,
have you seen the stats?
Yeah, I mean this is misbranding. This is like false advertising to the extreme.
This is misbranding.
This is a Fer-de-Lance Mark II.
The space dads.
This is a Fer-de-Lance Mark II. Like
yeah.
Not the Python Mark II.
Exactly the same insides, like near exact insides, near exact same stats. Difference is that, yeah, sure, instead of that one huge hard point and a bunch of mediums, you have 4 large ones and 2 mediums. Damage wise, it is a little bit more, but it's basically the same thing. Also, the power distributor is downgraded. Oh, but again, it's the same as Fer-de-Lance, so it's not Python. It really is not Python.
That's true.
Get it through your heads, please.
Yeah, the damage point comparison with Fer-de-Lance is true until you start thinking that you can put 4 pacifiers on the ship, and you can only put 1 on the Fer-de-Lance. And pacifier. Talking about OP, pacifiers are such an OP weapon. So
that too.
You can put 4 OP weapons on an otherwise still high performance ship. That's why the frag Python Mark II is so popular. Right?
I mean, the fact that it also simply has 1 extra hardpoint overall allows you to simply be more versatile in general. And the drawbacks, literally the drawbacks of this ship are 2. It has less shields, slightly more hull to compensate, and also slightly less speed and slightly less maneuverability, like to the level of 5% at most.
Yeah.
Like, is that really a fair trade-off? I'm sorry, but no. And what you're gaining instead is more versatility in the weapons. Sure, the same power distributor, but again, you can always compensate with that. It does restrict the ship in that sort of a sense, but no, it doesn't. No. And what you're gaining, most importantly for combat ships, is about 10 light years in jump range for a fully built-out ship.
Which is almost
for
double.
A ship. yeah. The thing is, a combat meta PvP build for Fer-de-Lance jumps about, I think it was 26 light years or something like that, and combat build of similar variety for a Python Mark II jumps about 34 to 36 light years. Like 10 light year, 10 to 8 light years difference is
it's a meaningful
huge
difference.
when it's literally 25% increase. It's like, no. It's literally a spare extra Guardian FSD booster being installed by default without weight or space being used. And on top of that, SEO optimization as well. Again, remind me, why are we using Fer-de-Lance? Like, it's the same situation as with Fer-de-Lance. It's just throw it in the dump. Like, no, you no longer need this good...
I don't think so. I think it's a less of a case. In a one competition, I think it's down more to the pilot than to the ship.
Fer-de-Lance, because of that extra maneuverability and especially speed, would win. That's true. But it is far closer than any other ship. It's literally the same ship, but with slightly better stats in majority of places. And with a Fer-de-Lance pilot, you would have to play around those negatives of Python Mark II in order to even win. That's the level of crap we're talking about.
Anyway, today you see this ship in a number of places. You see this ship.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's popular.
Every ganker's new ship. That's
Ganker, exactly. It's the number 1 ship for ganking, thanks to its ability to mount 4 pacifiers. in addition to also letting you mount groms and additional hardpoints, and maybe even pack hounds with drag munition on the 2 mediums. So it's a default ship of gankers. First use, second use. You do see it among PvPers as well, in a number of configurations. You do see it as a PvE ship, as a medium PvE combat ship, although not that often, but you do see it for that. What you don't see it anymore, which is again this is probably one of my most famous builds, succeeded builds in this case, not unsuccessful as the Mamba one. This used to be the best Titan bomber. The Krait Mark II with its 4 large shard cannon mounts and one
right.
Which, and Guardian, the old Guardian shards, which you could engineer for anti-Guardian field resistance, were the best weapons to do damage to the thermal core. And the ship was fast enough to be able to hit all 8 vents on the top side, make it to the bottom part, and hit the entire core from 100% to 0 all by itself. In fact, this made Titan bombing kind of boring for a number of people, because it used to be that it was a group activity, which you went in a group to kind of like do more effectively. Once this thing came around and shards with Guardian field resistance came around, it changed the paradigm. Now it was less efficient to go in a group than to go solo Titan bombing, which was sad, which is one of the things that I would lobby for anti-elements to change the hit points on the thermal core if Titans ever come back from a 10,000 hit points to maybe 100, so that you need multiple people to actually hit the core to 0 every cycle.
This is the second ship in the whole game with 4 large slots. So in Anti-Xeno, it is the only other ship outside of Type 10 that doesn't waste the size slot in order to equip the maximum damage Guardian weaponry or experimental weaponry.
Oh, in that sense. Anyway, it's a ship that I think is in a good place in the meta overall, and in a number of activities. So I wouldn't touch the ship, honestly. I would keep it as it is.
Titan 2, not change. Okay, no. Interesting idea.
It's competitive against the FTL. It's relatively balanced there. It's a great ganking ship.
For the fact that SE optimization and the jump range is insane.
But it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter that much. Like if you're doing PvP, like you're doing it in a single system, you're not going anywhere.
Gank.
No, I don't gank. But even if I did, I would be sitting around in a CG system to gank. I wouldn't be jumping around. So like, yeah,
hunting your prey.
Yeah, well, hunting your prey gankers sit around the system looking for prey to come to them. They don't chase their prey around systems, I can tell you that. But anyway,
you'd be surprised.
Maybe.
But fair enough. My suggestions, let's see, drastically reduce the jump range, like I said previously, slightly reduced top speed and rotational speed. Again, because it is literally heavier and just simply heavier Fer-de-Lance. It really needs to get bombed because of that amount of damage it also can put out. It has to be a bigger difference between them, sadly. Sure, it would put it in a less desirable spot, but hey, you want that extra damage? Well, then there's that. You lose that rotation, certainly, and speed as well, so that it is a bigger difference between the two ships, even though you're paying more credits, what it does. But anyways.
Maybe Yamiks, in the interest of time, let's do the Type 11 quickly, because much has been said about this ship recently.
Oh shit! Type 11. I don't know much about its stats. I looked at its top speed and it disgusted me immediately, and I really don't care more until we actually get proper information. Again, Coriolis is a bit weird. Yeah. I'm not buying it. I'm not supporting horrible practices in video games in order to review it. Hell no.
I bought it. I killed a Hydra with it. It's a good miner. It sucks with just about everything else. That's the end of the Type 11 review. Let's talk about the next ship.
Cool, right. Corsair, the
Now
most
that is a ship
expensive
we should spend a
medium ship
moment,
in the
yeah.
game, the first medium ship with the biggest thruster. It really doesn't matter what it. We'll get to the fucking thrusters. Generally speaking, a lot more damage because of just bigger hard points overall, and yeah, not the most cargo space inside, but still beats Python in pretty much everything with exception of maneuverability. It is still a little bit less maneuverable than Python, but again, like Mamba, it's a copy-paste of a Python. Literally, it's a copy-paste of a Python. Just the other things improved.
Well, technically, it's a copy-paste of an Imperial Courier, which then they expanded upon, but they templated off of the Courier.
Oh, I can draw a picture that looks like tits. Does that mean that those are tits? I doubt it.
No, it suddenly changed from the Courier, although the cockpit is pretty much the same. But besides that...
Oh, God, yeah.
But besides that, this is the best ship in the game. By
it's
wide
overpowered
margin.
as hell.
This is the best ship in the game. Like, this might be the only ship that I agree with you is somewhat OP, but I love it. It's the ship I'm flying the most these days. It's just so good. There's so many builds, so many configurations. You can do up almost anything. It's a fantastic PvE ship. It can be used in PvP. It's the best AX ship in the game, and there's actually 2 or 3 builds in AX, and they're all fantastic and outstanding. It can mine. It's a fantastic core miner. It can trade. It can. It's like it's not only a multi-role, but it's like a multi-role that is the best in role in like a half dozen roles.
Right. Remember when I was talking about Type 8 and I said that it was designed by a child that said, I want this, and then it does this, and then it's also good at this. You're literally saying that right now. But yeah, he's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct on that sort of on those every single point. It's oh god, it pisses me off. Oh, anyways, sorry to interrupt there, but anyways, carry on.
I'm just fanboying on the Corsair. So I mean, look, there's some amazing, like, one of the things I really like about the Corsair is this build, which is one of the ever builds that I would argue has been successful, even though, again, some people say I'm the worst furry crafter or ship builder, unclear yet in the game, but which is the so-called easy mode Corsair. The easy mode Corsair, in a very unconventional setup, combines modified Guardian plasma chargers and gimbaled enhanced multi-cannons on the build. And that makes sniping hearts of Fargoids much easier. And it has made anti-Xenos combat a lot more accessible to a lot of people. And I am really happy about that, because honestly, the fact that AX was hard, it was kind of a given and known fact. You need to fix weapons, you need to learn flight assist off, you need to unlock Guardian weapons, and all these gnarly things, which made AX kind of sort of something that people put off and said, yeah, well, I don't want to do that kind of time investment to get into AX. The Corsair and the easy mode Corsair, both the unengineered version of that and the fully engineered version eventually, which you can work yourselves progressively to, is the ship that has democratized AX and made it truly available to the masses. And for that, I am incredibly grateful, because I think AX is so much fun, and it's an activity that people should try for once. And the fact that now they have a ship that they can buy, at Shindets or their favorite station and just get it off the production line, and it kind of works.
Or for real money.
Or for it used to be like now, or you can buy a pre-engineered. But honestly, the pre-engineered version, I don't know how much better it is. But I mean, as you can tell, this is another ship that I'm a big fan of.
Right. So yeah, it just does everything, and there are massive problems about how developers went about making it what it is essentially today. For those that don't look into the stats specifically, essentially it is the only medium ship that can carry the Class 7 thruster. Again, the number class does not matter. It's Reality is the way game is set up essentially is that they basically gave the thruster that was designed for large ships in order for the large ships to even be playable in the first place with existing calculations for items within the game without retooling everything. To this medium ship that is super light. The result, because of that, is that no matter what you cram into Corsair, no matter how heavy you make it, it will always be able to boost at maximum rate of speed.
My
it
PvP
will
build did
never
not, but
slow
close.
down. Imagine in a space game where mass is being calculated for ships. Every gram or ton essentially does affect how far you jump. For this ship, actually, it does affect, but also how fast you move. Sure, for Corsair, the weight does affect how far you can jump, but not how fast you can move. For reasons, right? And I absolutely despise that design. It's not even design approach. It's just simply careless and thoughtless. Well, not even this is not designing. This ship is not designing. This is slapping together two things and it works. No further thought required, and that's what irritates me so much. But then again, obviously, it's all driven because of, we need to make sales and all that stuff, but regardless. Anyways, so my suggestion is essentially for the ship is either rework how engines work in order for weight to actually matter for the ship. That's a bigger game change, or just simply remove the Class 7 thruster and just make it like all the other medium ships with Class 6 thrusters, where weight actually matters, blah, blah, blah. Another thing that is required, this is the fourth, I repeat, fourth furthest jumping ship in the game. Right? Python.
Great. I agree.
No, this should not be jumping as far without making such a big sacrifice somewhere at least. While at the same time it is able to carry more cargo than Python as well. Where is the sacrifice, essentially, what I'm talking about for the medium ships? So my suggestions additionally to reducing the jump range in order to actually make it a bit more sense-making, I guess, remove weapons, but add optional cargo space if you want to make it into a more cargo-oriented multi-role and less for combat, or remove optional slots and basically make it less cargo capacitive than Python, but add more more utility slots, making it into a more of a combat build. Sure, it is more powerful in every way than Python, but it makes a sacrifice that it can't carry as much. That would be only a fair compromise, you could say, at least in my eyes, and so on and so forth. So either you sacrifice weapons and get more cargo, or sacrifice cargo and get more defenses. Pure and simple.
Try the easy mode Corsair. You might get your Medusa finally, man. It's so much fun to fly.
If I want easy mode, Cutter.
No.
Cutter.
This is a lot easier than Cutter. You'll see, a lot easier than Cutter. Anyway, man, I'm timing out. I'm timing out, so I gotta go. Gotta pick up the kids here. It was wonderful to stream with you. Well. Yeah, thank you.
Of course, as always. And,
lots of fun.
Right, at the end of everything, folks, put down your nastiest comment you can, because last time I had blast reading some of Mechan's comments there.
Yeah, no, would love to hear your thoughts, positive, negative, however you feel. Always welcome your input. Thank you all, guys. Thank you, Yamiks. Yes, indeed. We'd love to hear from all of you. And glory to mankind. We'll see you soon for our next one. We'll do a large ship eventually down the road when we both get time. Cheers.
Indeed.
Bye.